Guys, the Chick is here. We're back today with another home gym video. In today's video, guys, I'm going to talk about why I wouldn't necessarily recommend everybody to own a Rogue squat rack, which, funnily enough, I have right here. So when I started building my home gym, I kind of just dove into it and got everything at once and kind of made all the beginner mistakes. I watched a bunch of Coop videos, got excited, about 11 gauge steel and, the quality aspect and all those kinds of things, which are great to an extent, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everybody to have a Rogue squat rack. I think what makes the most sense for most people is to see what other options you have. I mean, yeah, it's great to have the 11 gauge steel. It's great to have, an overbuilt thing, but do you necessarily need it? And maybe if you want to keep that same mark of quality, there's other options. So if you do a little bit of homework, especially here in Canada, there's actually a lot of other viable options. And this is something I was thinking about today because I was looking at adjustable benches and, of course the Rogue one catches my eye, but I think I'm just going to get something that's fairly cheap because, it's not a mainstay. Now, squat rack is a different story because it is a mainstay, but let's talk about that. So there's a lot of different options depending on what you need. And a squat rack is definitely one of those things where I wouldn't necessarily say is a good place to try to save money. I think that's a good investment for your home gym, especially for your personal safety and, bang for your buck in terms of usage. A lot of your stuff is going to come out of that rack, but as long as you can, find something with decent amount of reviews from a somewhat trusted company, like in Canada, there's other options other than Rogue that are less expensive. Bells of Steel, for example, Synergy Fitness on the more budget end, Amstaff Fitness, again, those are racks that aren't gonna, they're not gonna fall apart on you. They're not gonna collapse. They're not going to, they may not hold up to a 1,500 pound weight bar forklift drop test, but do you really need that, right? So, and the advantage of doing that, strictly from a budget stance, is yes, the Rogue stuff is great, but then you're gonna wanna get all the accessories. That's where you start spending your money. So, sure, the SML1 squat stand that I got, that I built everything off of, was only, I think at the time, $450, something like that. So these J-cups alone were, $150 in shipping. So, stuff like that starts to add up. Spotter arms are expensive. The band pegs are expensive. The cross members are expensive. Anything else you want to add on to it gets expensive. And that's the benefit of a Rogue rack, right? Is you get to put on all these extra accessories. Now, there's a lot of companies that come out with different options that are interchangeable with this style of rack system. But, if you have the Rogue stuff, I feel like you're more inclined to just stay with that company because it'll fit and it's just easier, right? So it's just worth it to do your homework and to see what else is available and not necessarily just go with, the best option on the market. And I think that's a mistake that I made. Maybe you guys have a similar story. Let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, so I thought about this today when I was looking at adjustable benches, and obviously the Rogue one kind of jumps out. I forget which one it is. It's like their newest one, and it's like $1,200 by the time you're all said and done with tax and shipping and everything. And then you compare that to Synergy Fitness, where it's $200. Yeah, it's not nearly as good. It's not nearly as, the specs don't quite match up. But I mean, it's a bench. I lie on it to, push some weight forward. Is it going to hold me? Okay, then it'll probably work. You know what I mean? I think that's the mindset that you need when you start to look at some of this stuff. It's like, what is actually, where do I draw that line where this actually becomes a benefit to me opposed to just something that I want? That's the biggest difference. And, it's easy. It's easy to get, especially with this stuff, because you're already spending a lot of money on it, so you don't want to get a piece of shit. You want to be safe, but, it's also got to make sense for you and your workouts at the same time. If I'm not someone that's going to be using an adjustable bench all of the time or in every single workout, we're talking about in a home gym, so it's not like it's commercial use. It's not like, you're going to get 10, 200-pound people on there with 50 to 80-pound dumbbells, 7-8 times a day, 7 days a week. So it doesn't necessarily need to be built up to that standard of quality either, because you're not nearly putting the time on that machine or the poundage or the whatever you want to call it, the work on it over time. It's going to be a lot less in a home gym, even if you are a bigger guy. So, I think those are all factors that are important to keep in mind when you look at some of this stuff, because home gym equipment, especially these days, is so expensive. So when I talk about things, I always try to keep budget in mind, because yeah, it's cool to have the cool new shiny thing, for sure. But it's not always necessary. It's not always needed. And you know, I've got a lot of Rogue stuff in my gym, and you know, I don't necessarily regret it, especially now because it's gone up in price quite a bit. But yeah, could I have saved some money while doing this? Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah. Now in terms of squat racks, like I said, there's a lot of different companies that come out that can build attachments that fit on these Rogue racks. Now that goes both ways. So if you're looking at a Rogue rack and you're like, oh man, you know, I want to get this because I want to be able to put, you know, this, and this on it. If you look around a bit, you're probably going to find all of that stuff, especially the accessory type stuff. Like if you look at the cost of the, I don't know, the dip bar attachment, just for example, you can probably find something that's going to do the exact same thing for maybe a half of the cost. And it should still fit into this rack fine. Because a lot of companies that build those attachment accessories, they build them knowing that people have Rogue racks, you know, because they're so popular. So, yeah, there's different ways to peel the orange. So just food for thought. So yeah, that's all I got. You guys let me know what you think down below in the comments. As always, thanks so much for watching. That is gonna wrap up the video today. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll catch you in the next one.